So basically, this is the wealth management process in the new way that we're going to go through it. So discovery remains the same. There's not much that's changed there. From the discovery meeting, we're still going to strategy, and that strategy we're going to have something called the Monte Carlo analysis that we're doing, um, which is basically a look at the portfolio more in depthly. James is working on that at the moment. The investment policy document, which is the booklet that I've created, still gets presented to the client. The strategy map still gets presented to the client at that stage. And at that point in time, there's no mention of fees. There's no need to collect any money. That meeting is completely free of charge. Then what happens is a week later, rather than 2 weeks, we have something called a mutual commitment meeting. So rather than it being a plan commitment meeting, we don't need to produce a plan. We don't do that. What we do is we get together with the client and we basically sit down, address any of the concerns around the strategy that we've put together and any considerations that they have around their investment approach. And then we present to them in that mutual commitment meeting our fees through the terms of engagement that we've done previously. And they get to decide then. It's only a half an hour meeting. They get to decide then if they want to proceed with us to the next stage. So proceeding to the next stage means that they're basically going to be paying our monthly retainer at the conclusion of that third meeting. So that's what we call the mutual commitment meeting. I've reflected that in the diary templates. I've reflected it in the agendas, done all of that. So what we had previously was the plan meeting. That plan meeting becomes a fusion of plan and implementation together. So they've basically already accepted in that mutual commitment meeting that they want to work with us. So it stands to reason that we can present the plan and that we can implement what we can in that meeting as well. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to digest what was in the plan or they had some aversion to what we could do, what we're doing for them, we would maybe have another implementation meeting as an option. So I've left implementation meeting and agenda and all of that as an option. Most likely not. We'll usually fuse plan and implementation into something called planning meeting. So it goes discovery, strategy, mutual commitment, planning. So previously we would have accountability. I'm removing accountability altogether and we're calling it our first progress meeting because effectively that's what it is. So after we've kind of done the planning meeting, it would be about say 10 to 12 weeks after that point that we would then have this first progress meeting. And that first progress meeting looks exactly like the accountability meeting in the way that we've done it before. We're going to have new accounts. We're going to give them their folder. We're going to do all of that sort of stuff. Just a difference in terminology, but that's what effectively it is. So, and that's it. So you basically got 1, 2, mutual commitment, 3, planning, 4, and regular progress meeting. First regular progress meeting, so you basically condensed it to 5 potential meetings in that process. So what I've done is first step, have a look at this. So if we go to admin templates and then we go to email templates, I've amended what I can around when you complete tasks. You get like a discovery meeting documents one and a strategy meeting documents email that gets sent to you. So I've amended that so that the documents behind it are still kind of consistent with what we need. The thing is, the threads themselves are not really 100% marrying all of these new changes. So we've kind of got to just use our nous a little bit until I've amended those threads, which I will in due course. But what I have amended is, as an example, the planning checklist. So now you'll see that everything remains the same around, we've had the discovery meeting because that doesn't really change. We print out this, we've got the pre-strategy, we're looking at all of these things. We're holding the meeting, strategy meeting. Then I've put in mutual commitment, which is new. So, Sandra, you need to produce the I need to produce the terms of engagement, sorry. You just collate that because you're preparing meeting materials, which is terms of engagement. The payment forms are at that point. mutual commitment agenda, mutual commitment minutes. And so all of those minutes and agendas and all of that sit within the new file system that I've created. So if you go to Prospect, so you can see that's pre-meeting conversation. So I'll fill that out with time, but yep. And then we've got discovery meeting. So that remains the same. Pre-meeting prep. You've got meeting materials, questionnaires, same sort of deal. Welcome kit, same deal here. So strategy meeting, pre-meeting prep, again, all of the documents that we previously used, that's going to change with time because we're working on that Monte Carlo thing that I've just said we're doing. Mutual commitment, meeting tools, so no meeting tools, pre-meeting agenda, so you've got commitment agenda, commitment meeting minutes, service payment docs, so you've got all that stuff that you would use usually.
I don't use it.
So, you know, credit card payment letter or the direct debit requirement form or DDR.
We're not using them now
Okay.
because BOQ was focused.
So you don't need that. That's cool. And then you've got go to new. So what I've done is I've basically put a shortcut here so that rather than go out and go new, you basically go, that's a shortcut. It just goes back new. So planning meeting, same deal. So there shouldn't be too much differences. Actually, there is quite a bit of difference. What am I saying? So planning meeting, you've got the planning meeting minutes and the planning meeting agenda. And what you'll notice in the agenda is, once I open it, I've kind of fused, see, discuss implementation process, all of that in there. The thing is that when you look at, when we get to on this, when you look at, you've gone through mutual commitment, they said they're happy to go ahead. We go through the kind of paraplanning sort of role, get the plan done, and then create all of these documents. But then we also, at this point, we have to print out the implementation checklist. Actually,
So we're going to do it
prior, actually should be prior to that follow-up email post plan. So that yeah, because we're going to do it all in that same meeting. So you can see this guy over here should be printed at the same time that the plan is done, and we need to go through all of these implementation outcomes because they're already a client and we're going to do both together.
So the plan and all the implementation
is for that one
paperwork
meeting, that planning
has to
meeting.
be ready for
The plan,
which it was anyway.
which it was anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. The only so that might be the case. There might be the case where some scenarios where a client says no, you know, we're going to produce it for that plan. But if they say no, we want to do a separate implementation meeting, then we'll do that. So over here again, if you follow it, when you go to the plan presentation meeting, you know that you're looking through all of these docs, you know, plan meeting minutes, memory sticks, so on and so forth. Somewhere around here, I will put this print out implementation checklist. So you have to be forced to print it out at the same time you do this. Or what I could do, if you find that easier, I could just get it to be on the same. I could just
same document.
Yep.
Yeah. Same
Probably makes sense.
setup. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that. So do you get the overall kind of structure?
So can I ask why?
Why? Yeah. So the usual sales process with financial planning is that you basically have a meeting to discover, a meeting to produce plan, and then they kind of sign on the dotted line and they go away and think about it. The process around CEG is to say, well, actually, what you want to do is you want to give them time. They're bigger clients, they've got more to think about, and they're more stressed about it. If they have, in the strategy meeting, said to you, yeah, I'm happy to come along to the mutual commitment meeting, they're probably going to do it anyway. But it does feel like for them that they're in control of that decision. You haven't charged them for those first 3 meetings. It's potentially a risk, but you're dealing with more affluent clients, and that means that there's more profitability potentially as well if it does pay off. They don't respond as well to the usual, their scenario is really easy to go along with, so we just do a couple of meetings and we're done. They appreciate a more patient approach to it because there's more at stake for them. So, you know, and that mutual commitment meeting is really about saying to them, hey, this is a time to address the most important thing here, and is our ongoing relationship, which sometimes takes a little bit of a backward seat to what's the strategy, what's the plan, So what are the real key things that you want to know that we're going to do for you? And these are kind of our expectations of you.
Okay.
So that's a half an hour meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not intensive, but it kind of, yeah. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So it's three times they come in here before.
So the thing is, even on the fourth time when we do the planning meeting, we may do the plan but we're not going to implement everything straight away anyway, and we never do. We've basically moved the client meetings from effectively, I think it was 6 or something to 5 or 5 to 4. We've actually reduced the amount of meetings. But you're right. The only things that get done in the first 3 meetings, what gets done is collection of their information, getting a really good understanding of them, understanding really clearly what their investment approach is and what options that we would likely go down, an overall view of what sort of strategies we're going to be putting together through that strategy map, and also through the modelling that we do, a little bit of an understanding around capital adequacy, how much they have and how likely they're going to be able to meet their kind of broader based retirement goals, okay, without getting into specifics. So they're getting quite a bit of value in those first three meetings, and then we're also getting their commitment in that third meeting around, what they expect and expectation setting and all of that. So I think there's a lot there, but you're right. The fourth meeting is where we're saying to them, okay, so this is specifically the way we're going to do it, and these are the accounts that we're going to set up, and then we start implementing.
Okay.
Bit of a different approach. But like everything, we'll trial it and see how we go.
So the strategy paper that you put together is still the shorter?
It is going to be a little bit more elaborate than it was before.
Yeah, I'm working on it at the moment. It's going to be a bit different. So that strategy meeting is going to have that strategy paper, and it's going to have